So today you can use your time in class to smooth out your pinch pots if you'd like. I just want you to see the next steps when you're ready. And this clay should be a little bit more stiff, not dried out, but not nearly as wet and malleable as it was when you first started. So I have two different size pinch pots, and if you look above me, we're going to combine them, and we're going to turn this one upside down and turn it into what's called a footer. So what I like on most of my pots is to have some kind of raised surface just to finish it off and make it look a little more advanced, a little more polished. So to combine two pieces, I'm not sure if we talked about this with the pet sculptures, when you start to add pieces of clay to each other, you always need to do scoring and slipping. And what that is it's basically adding texture on the two pieces of clay that will be connecting. So these two areas right now, the clay is wet enough I could force it and it might stick, but tomorrow as it starts to dry, it'll just come apart. So what I need to do is create almost a Velcro, and I'm going to use my fork to do my scoring. So I want to make it nice and deep, sort of crisscross. When I say nice and deep, a lot of students just kind of do this, like they scratch the surface. That's not enough. If you think about Velcro, those two sides of Velcro really, in order to stick together, they need some texture there. So you can see I'm kind of going nice and deep, not so deep obviously that you're going to create a hole. Now the other thing is my paintbrush is kind of crusty with clay on it, but the beauty of this is all I do is get a cup of water and kind of rinse that out, and clay, as you know, we can turn it into slip, reactivates. So now I've got my brush that I like to use for slip. So this is my scoring, and now what I'm using is the slip, which is the dried out clay that we added water to create almost like a glue. Now usually you could just do water here, but I find the slip connects your pieces even better. So at the end of the day, I'm going to have all these like little dry bits of clay on my desk. I can just wipe those into my slip cup, and it will reactivate the clay and turn it into slip. Now if I just left this open and let it kind of air dry out and the water would evaporate, I could eventually wedge the clay back into a ball of clay. But for now, I'm going to use this as my slip. And so I'm going to put this on both sides actually, nice and thick. Again, think of it as glue. It's kind of filling in those holes. So now what I want to do is I'm not just going to set this on top there and be done. I need to add some pressure. So I'm going to press these two together, trying to push out any air pockets that was created from that scoring, any air pockets that it's between the clay. So I'm putting my fingers on the inside of this pinch pot, my fingers here, and I'm adding pressure between the two. Let me zoom out just a little bit so you can see my muscles bulging. Just kidding. And I also want to try to center this as best as I can. So now you can see all this puddled slip. So the reason I like to use a paintbrush is because now I can wipe that away. Now I always like to keep a smock on. If you don't have a smock, which I don't at home, I have a kitchen towel here that I'm going to dedicate to my pottery class, because now I don't want to use this to wash dishes with, obviously. So I'm going to wipe this off. And if I need to, I'm kind of scraping the excess into my slip bin, but also if I just need to sort of dry the brush off a little bit, I'm just going to dry it off on this towel. And the nice thing with the slip too is, notice I have some kind of, not necessarily cracks, but textures here that maybe I don't like. Again, keeping my hand inside there, kind of supporting the clay area. I'm just going to use the brush, not necessarily to paint, but to use as a tool to add pressure to kind of smooth it out. Now I'm going around and I'm wiping that up. Now what you could do is add a coil of clay if you don't want to see that crack and make it look a little bit more seamless, kind of like the picture above me. Or actually, I'm just going to keep going over it with the brush, because I did score a little bit too much outside here, so I don't want to see those score marks. So again, I'm using the brush not just as sort of painting, brushing over, but I'm also pressing down where the metal part is, getting in there, adding some pressure to smooth that out. So now, as you can see, I'm holding this and it's not falling off. That slip and the scoring, it's sort of Velcroed on there, and plus with the pressure. Now in the classroom, and actually I'm going to still have you put your initials on here because these may turn out nice and I'd like to maybe fire them. This could be your first piece that we will fire and glaze so you can actually use it. Okay, so take your time today and tomorrow doing that. Now the other thing too is my lip is not perfect. You can see it's like different thicknesses. It's a little bit wonky. So I'm going to go with it. I'm not going to try to recreate what's above me. That was just for inspiration. So from the side, it kind of has that look. But maybe I'm going to give it, yeah, I don't know, exaggerate by pinching and give it either a pour spout. Maybe we'll make it into a pour spout. That might be kind of cool. Or I could do it all the way around and give it more of a kind of flowery kind of feel, but I'm kind of digging this pour spout. So pour spout, sorry. I'm going to put my finger right in there and pull out and pinch with my other hand and continue to kind of smooth. I'm kind of digging that. I've done pour spouts before, but for some reason, something about this form is pretty cool. So anyway, play. I'm going to keep playing so that you can fast forward ahead. When you're done, this is the bottom, this is my footer. I'm going to put my initials. I am JZ. And because you are 7th period, I'm going to ask you to add the number 7 because there are 10 pottery classes and there very well may be another JZ. My husband is JZ. I have a friend that's JZ. Of course, there's the rapper JZ, but I don't think he is in Fairlawn. So now I'm going to let this dry. I can put a piece of plastic over it lightly to let it dry slow. I'm going to see what happens if I don't do that. We'll see how, if it cracks or not, but hopefully not. So I'm going to actually keep this upside down like that to dry.